Welcome back to the Tactical Insight Show here on AFTV. We promised you there'd be another show, and we've actually delivered. Well done to us. Look, there hasn't been a game, obviously, to talk about. Arsenal have had a week without football. It feels like a long time already. I don't know if you're feeling it, Graham. Like, I'm missing Arsenal already. I thought actually I'd enjoy the break after a title race and the stress of this season. I missed them already. But we've got a lot of work to do in terms of discussing what went well for Arsenal last season, how Arsenal developed as a team under Mikel Arteta. But we want to look ahead to next season. That means talking transfers, that means talking squad building, but it means also trying to predict what Arteta's Arsenal will look like next season, Graham. Welcome back to the show.
Yes, thank you, James. Good morning. Yes, I've been looking forward to this one today, James. We've been planning it overnight with you, and I think our objection today is obviously to celebrate the season Arsenal had, because we did go very close to winning the title, but also, like as we've seen with Pep Guardiola this season, that top managers are always looking at evolving, and I think we've sort of like thought about it overnight, ways that we think Arsenal could evolve next season, targets that they might want to get to improve the side and go again next season. So yeah, looking forward to doing this one with you today. Absolutely.
So the show's going to be split into two parts. There will be time codes on this video. So if you're just interested in the transfer stuff, the next season stuff, go ahead and jump to the next part. Don't advise you to, because we're going to go through some really, really great stuff. And remember, what has been a very good season, despite it not ending with the Premier League title. But let's begin part one. So let's have a little look at what I call the standout stats for this season. Big thank you to you, Graham, for sending these through. Arsenal did equal their most wins in a league season ever by hitting 26 wins. They also got the most goals scored in a league season ever. That's 88 goals, more than the Invincibles. The most points since the Invincibles, with 84 in a league season ever. The Invincibles managed to get to 90, and 100 goals in all competitions. That is seriously significant progress on the season before.
You know, I think Arteta had the second youngest squad in the Premier League this season. We should not forget that. Last year, he started putting the second part of his 5-plan process that he talked it in place by adding some quality signings. And I think this year was about developing the team structure around those signings. And I thought the way that we started off last season was exceptional. And you know, as the season went on, you know, it was clear that Arsenal now, with Arteta developing the shape, it was a season where we played like an inverted fullback, we played a box midfield, we played like two number 10s, getting on the ball and creating from centrally. And we had a structure, I thought, that delivered on the pitch for Arteta. And the start we made absolutely outstanding. And those numbers are absolutely exceptional, James, to equal the most wins in a season, 26. The Invincibles had that, of course, in 2003, 4. To score our most goals in the season, and we had like 4 players who scored over 10 goals.
Yeah.
The first time the club have done that since 2012-13. We had the likes of Cazorla, Walcott, Podolski and Giroud doing that. And of course we hit 100 goals in all competitions. I thought the goals last season, despite that we didn't have a Haaland up front, weren't an issue for Arsenal. We were scoring goals from all over the pitch. I think defensively in the end was where we were found wanting in the end. But overall, yeah, exceptional numbers, James.
So let's talk about how we got in some part to those set of numbers, and together we're all going to build the 11. Help if that works. It does now. Cool. So we know that obviously Aaron Ramsdale, the starting goalkeeper. What we can do is make all this a little bit bigger as well. There we go. Cool. Now we're building our back four. Ben White, a revelation at right back this year, Graham. And Gabriel and Saliba in there as well. And the left back, we had Zinchenko. Right. Building it further. Granit Xhaka, Thomas Partey, Martin Odegaard. Apologies everyone, I'm throwing this in a little bit quickly. And then we had Saka. The sad thing is that this 11 only went out how many times this season? Six times?
6 times in a season.
Well, there you go. So this was Arteta's preferred 11. I'm going to just pretty it up a little bit. But it was a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
That's how it looked on paper, but it's not how they sort of set up on the pitch.
No, and I think the first thing we have to recognise is what Arteta did pre-season. The recruitment was excellent. We've always criticised Arsenal in the past for poor recruitment, but this time he got the recruitment, I thought, spot on. Zinchenko from Manchester City was an excellent signing. He also brought in Gabriel Jesus to lead the line. Obviously the players like Lacazette and Aubameyang were gone. And I think the real big one for me, it was almost like an £80 million signing. I might be exaggerating a bit with the numbers there, but that's what it felt like to me, was William Saliba, who had been on loan, coming back, And I thought what he decided very quickly was in this team that he was going to sort of like build up with this box midfield. Sorry, James.
No, go for it.
Zinchenko would sort of like invert. Gabriel would come across the left. Saliba would be here, and Ben White would push across to the right. Of course, there were times when Ben White would invert as well. But if you look at it as a way we started off, it was like a 3-2-2-3, and then what we would have is that Granit Xhaka, we would have our 5 lanes with Granit Xhaka, Saka for width, Odegaard coming in here, Martinelli holding a touchline here. So eventually the box midfield becoming build-up 3-2-2-3, but then became a 3-2-5.
Yeah, and this became a real feature of the season. You know, we saw Pep Guardiola, he did it differently with John Stones, who would be playing in Saliba's position, stepping into midfield, and they'd be forming a back 3 because they'd have a more natural kind of defender at left back. Arsenal and Arteta are one of the first and most consistent for this season alone, I'm talking, to play with this kind of box midfield setup. And now everyone seems to be doing it. Now we're seeing Trent Alexander-Arnold inverting as well, and wingers are much wider and hugging the touchline because they know there's more space, and you're seeing sort of the underlaps and what you called they are advanced states, but they're basically playing in 10 spaces, the way they're getting forward, the likes of Xhaka and Odegaard. And it was really clever from Arteta. It was really clever how he evolved this Arsenal team from last season, and the use of Zinchenko and his passing from deep and his ability to dictate play. Someone who really benefited from it was Granit Xhaka, because for everything we've said about Ben White reinventing himself as a right back a little bit, Zinchenko and this box midfield, Granit Xhaka as a box to box getting forward. We've talked about his 7 goals, 7 assists, but also the way when Arsenal do revert to a back 4, he tucks in next to Partey. He has been really, really impressive, and we've given him a lot of credit in the last episode as well, but the way he invented his role as well, very impressive.
Yeah, I thought that Granit Xhaka, I've said this before on this show this season, total rejuvenation for Granit Xhaka this season in the role he played that Mikel Arteta saw for him in this left-sided 8 role. In fact, I see Odegaard and Xhaka, they're playing as 8s, but I see them as almost like 10s. So this was a season for me where the Premier League evolved from goals coming out from wide areas more to box midfields trying to create from centrally, like through balls, more through balls. More goals came in the Premier League this year from through balls than for a long time. I haven't got the exact numbers on that, but previously most goals come from wide areas and from crosses from fullbacks. This season, with a lot of the top teams playing high lines, you had more these players here getting on in the zone 14 area. We always talk about zone 14 on this show, and creating from that area was obviously, I think, a big thing in the season, not just for Arsenal, for a lot of teams. But you are right, Granit Xhaka in this role here, getting up. He was even getting on the end of crosses in the box. He was scoring, as you said. He got 7 goals, 7 assists this season, but he understood when to get back and defend with Thomas Partey when we needed to. So I think also the other big thing for me on this team shape was the role of Benjamin White. So you had like this triangle on the right hand side developing where Odegaard and Saka would sort of like switch positions a lot. White would then go on the overlap, and this lovely sort of triangle that Arteta developed on the right hand side wasn't quite so fluid on the left hand side because obviously Zinchenko was injured towards the back end of the season, but even then you had potential where Martinelli would come inside, Granit Xhaka might pull out wide left, and Martinelli would come in, or Xhaka would drop back and Zinchenko would go wide. So he had like these 2 like triangles going on in the team throughout the season. So this system structure, very fluid from Arsenal, and made us less predictable in our build-up shape.
And one of my favourite goals that we analysed on this show was this goal against Forest. Now, granted, Zinchenko's not playing in this box role, but I thought the way it sort of showed off, let's make this a little bit smaller, the way it showed off for me what everyone did kind of on the pitch and why the shape was so important. Because on the ball, you know, this is Arsenal trying to attack. You're right, Martinelli's come inside. Granit Xhaka's held the width because they wanted to get Martinelli and Saka close to the goal at times, but there always had to be width held by someone. So there's Saka all the way out on the right-hand side. You got your lane of 5. But again, it's these 3 here. It's Tomiyasu marking Gibbs-White. Partey's got an eye on Awoniyi and White on Lingard. And you had this shield that was there to protect Arsenal as well. So while Arsenal are attacking, they've also got an eye for what they're doing defensively. And in this goal, you've got Tomiyasu who nicks it from Gibbs-White, goes out to Martinelli. He switches the ball to Saka. And you see, again, White's going for the overlap with this move. He comes inside and finds Martinelli, and there's no goalkeeper. But the point is, I thought in just kind of the space of 10, 15 seconds, you saw a little bit of what Arsenal were all about under Mikel Arteta this year. And the different moves from Xhaka coming wide to Ben White overlapping to Jesus coming inside to the three defending as well. I thought it was a really good goal. Let's talk about that Arsenal did get the most Premier League wins. Let me see, here we go. Most Arsenal Premier League wins this season is 26 wins. That got to 84 points. We finished second. Anything we've done above that has won us the title. 87 points won us the title, and 90 is the Invincibles. But the third time ever we've hit 26 wins, which is, it shows you that when Arsenal were in the mood, they were putting real runs of form together this season.
Yeah, and unfortunately I thought that the drop off towards the end of the season, I actually thought we were going to eclipse it at one stage, but
I know that should be 28.
That should be 28, shouldn't it? But yeah, impressive win rate there. 26 wins, our highest in the Premier League, James.
There are, however, some more negative stats. Let's talk about them here. Let me see if I can find them. This is the most stats we've ever had on a show, everyone. So apologies, do bear with us while we just get the graphics up. Here we go. Time spent at the top, 248 days for Arsenal this season. Newcastle 212 days in 95-96. Arsenal again spent 189 days at the top in 2002-2003 without winning the title. It's frustrating. I mean, I think what slightly skews it is that we didn't play Man City for a long time because of the Queen's passing, pushing that back. So we played them in February, so that kind of skews it a little bit. And then, I don't know, it just felt like we had a lot of big games with Anfield and the Etihad. So even though we were top for so long, I think Arsenal fans always knew that gap wasn't probably quite what it looked for a long time.
No, and I never thought it was either, to be honest, because we had the World Cup, also that's the days of the World Cup probably in that figure, but also knew we had to play Manchester City twice in our last 19 games, and our running, the games we had at the end of the season were always difficult. So, you know, at the end of the day, Arsenal, I think in the end, the fact that we were the young squad, I think did affect the running, the mentality of the team at the end, that they couldn't quite get over the line. That's a fair argument, but, and obviously, the fact that we were top for 248 days, you know, when you look at that, everybody's laughing at us because of that. But at the end of the day, I like to see the positives in the fact where the team got to. And I honestly believe that this Arsenal team, with the right signings, which we're going to talk about, I think we can challenge for the league over the next year and possibly win it in the next 2 or 3 years if he gets the recruitment right.
I completely agree. More context, after game week 19, Arsenal had 50 points. They finished second with that. Liverpool had 51 points, finished second, but otherwise pretty much anything better.
This stat I sent you, James, is the teams who were top after 19 games and where they finished. So as you can see,
the best ever
points from 19 games. We had an exceptional first 19 games. We won 50 points. We only dropped 7 points. Our first 8 games in the league last season, 8 away games in the league, we won 7. Only conceded away from home once in those first 8 games, and we only dropped points. I think we had 1 loss and 2 draws in those first 19 games. So overall, an exceptional first 19 games got us to 50 points. We were on for 100 points, but we always knew that was going to be difficult. But as you can see, the only team I can think of comparable to Arsenal in recent times, that Liverpool team of 18-19, where Manchester City chased down a big gap between them and Liverpool, much as the same way as they did chase down the gap between them and us.
Got to 97 points. That's just a slight difference. But let's talk about our defending. That was a big part of the season as well, because I think Arsenal did improve defensively this year. Don't get me wrong. The numbers might not say it, but I think we improved in that the personnel were better. And I think Arsenal were playing a far more exposed style of football, far more attacking, far more on the front foot, as we saw with the amount of goals we scored, the most ever in a Premier League season. That defence were given more to do. So I actually credit the individuals for the amount of defending they had to do on their own. I thought the press was better, but the defensive numbers do need to improve generally, because home clean sheets 4, but 10 away from home. 43 goals conceded. That is joint third with Man United, because we were behind joint first, Man City and Newcastle with 33 each. So what do you make of our defence then?
I thought our defence at the start of the season was really good. And the reason why I thought it was very good is the way that we suffocated teams with our high press and the way we kept the ball. Which I think towards the back end of the season, when we lost Saliba, we're going to talk about Saliba, we dropped off a bit so we defended deeper. But when we played that high line, we suffocated teams because we had Saliba and Gabriel on the recovery, and we were able to sort of keep teams pinned in and in the structure we played. So I thought that the press, the 4-4-2 press with Odegaard and Jesus leading from the front, and the way we marked man for man and the way we suffocated teams meant that we were really good. Often away from home, we had a strategy in the first 20 minutes, the way we controlled games, and we got that first goal. Once we got the first goal, we had something to hold on to and to keep the shape. And I think teams struggled against us. At home, obviously, it became more difficult when teams were sitting in lower blocks. But we ultimately, even at home, we were finding ways to win the games, and we were defending better at the start from set plays. As the season went on, we started to get more weaker from set plays. But overall, defensively was pretty good. I think it can be better, and if that's, I think, is the area of the team we need to strengthen next year, defensively and in midfield.
I completely agree, and we saw, particularly away from home, how Saliba's absence impacted us. We know he got injured in that Sporting game at the end of March, I believe, or mid-March, and we haven't seen him since. That's about 2.5 months of football he's missed, and especially a crucial part of the season. That is really disappointing. So of our away games, we played 14 with Saliba, 5 without. We scored 28 goals with Saliba in the team away from home. We only scored 7 in the 5 games without him. We conceded 9 goals in those 14 games before, and I say matched like it's a good thing, it wasn't. We matched the 9 goals conceded in just 5 games without him, 9 clean sheets away from home with Saliba, and only 1 without. So it was a massive miss at a really key point in the season.
I think it was not only his solidity that he offered the defence, his recovery speed, is defending one-on-one. I like defenders who can win my duels. Not my duels, their duels. And he was good at that. But I think the other thing is some other stats I got down for you. But we not only missed him in terms of the goals we started conceding without him, the clean sheets we started not getting when he was out of the team. But I thought what he offered us is controlling games. Controlling games with his passing.
Completely agree.
So these are passing stats, Premier League 2022-23 per 90 minutes. 69.4 passes attempted in games, 63.2 passes completed, 91% pass accuracy, 21.4% opposition half passes completed, and 5.7 final third passes completed. So it wasn't just his defending, it was his control and his ability in build-up that that he gave us in these games.
I completely and utterly agree. Now to praise the attack, we have in terms of the goals scored, but I just want to see here we go, Premier League goal contributions. Just to sort of show, because I'm going to give us some big credit here. We were on this show 11 months ago, 10 months ago, something like that, maybe a year ago, saying what do we think Arteta's trying to do? What do we think the future looks like with these signings coming in? But we pointed towards goals across the pitch. He's not looking for one man to rely on for goals. He's looking at what Guardiola was doing pre-Haaland. Everyone chips in, and wow, did everyone chip in. This is just Premier League goal contribution. Saka with 14 goals and 11 assists, Odegaard 15 goals, 7 assists, Martinez with 15 goals, 5 assists, Trossard with 8 goals and 12 assists, Jesus 11 goals, 6 assists. Oh, sorry, I should say the Trossard one obviously includes the Brighton numbers. And Xhaka, 7 goals, 7 assists. That's basically the most regular players in the front 5 for Arsenal, so we've got 6 of them there. They contributed massively.
Exceptional numbers, and I think all through the season we had no problem scoring goals. As we said, we scored 88. I thought the attack got a little bit stale towards the back end of the season. Maybe 1 or 2 players like Saka were overplayed, but for all that, those numbers are exceptional. Martin Odegaard, 15 goals, most goals from open play, absolutely exceptional. This guy not only captained the team and his work rate off the ball, but what he offered us in that right half space and the goals he contributed, absolutely essential to the team. Gabriel Jesus obviously missed a big part of the season, we have to say that, and I don't think he's ever been a massive scorer above his expected goals, and he didn't do that at Man City, so we had to have this right across the team, and we have got players all across the front there who not only can change positions and are comfortable in each other's positions but offer goals. So let's round up on part 1 then. Building with a back 3. A lot of centre-backs or, let's say, more robust defenders playing at full-back we saw. Box midfield. Granit Xhaka as a box-to-box midfielder. And goals spread across the pitch. I think those are probably the 5 big things that evolved, developed or were new across this season.
This is where we have a little bit of fun. Welcome to part 2 of the show. Now we are looking ahead, and I'm trying to keep in mind what we've just mentioned there for the first part and what we've learnt from Arsenal, trying to predict now how he'll develop it, evolve it, and then what the signings could look like in this Arsenal team. So, we have a little bit of fun. We've got Graham's targets. Only the 6 players he wants. I saw this wish list. I thought, wow, I'm glad I'm not buying you Christmas presents. Maybe I should, actually, in fairness. Thinking, fair enough. It's not a bad wish list, this. I know you don't think we're going to get all of them. No. So, all jokes aside, why these players?
Well, I did say to you, have I got an unlimited budget? You said yes. So I became like Chelsea's owner.
Yes, yeah.
For a few minutes, yeah. So look, what I've done is I've tried to highlight bits in the team that I think we need to strengthen. I think, look, you only have to look on the media at the moment, on social media and in the news, to see that Arsenal are interested in Declan Rice. And Caicedo, our interest in him, I don't think has ever waned from the fact we were interested in him, even though he signed a new contract. If we got these 2 players, they would massively improve our midfield. Me and you disagree where we're going to play Rice and Caicedo if we got them, and we'll talk about that maybe today or in time. But I see Declan Rice as a number 6, as someone who reads the game, a passer who can progress the play from deep. I know he can play 8, as you've told me, but I see him as more of a number 6. I see Caicedo more as a counter presser, someone who, although he's played at 6 under De Zerbi for Brighton, I think he's somebody who could win the ball in transition. He's powerful, he's got pace, and he could offer us something that would improve our midfield. I think if you get quality in your midfield, that helps you defensively because you've got quality in midfield. Games are won in midfield through having good number 8s, number 10s, but also won in midfield by having good defensive structure and powerful physical players. Those 2 players offer me a bit of both. Somebody who's very good defensively at number 6 and someone who's very good at number 8. We talked about Saka. Saka needs a rest sometimes, and we talked about maybe Gabriel Jesus could rotate out wide. I know we explored the option last week, but someone like Diaby, who's a right-sided player, could come in and be. He's at Leverkusen. He could sort of like play on that right-hand side, and then at the back, I'm just gone for cover. I know the Crystal Palace centre-half, Gay, he's somebody who's impressed me as a right-sided centre-back. He could offer competition there. Now, Cancelo's an interesting one for me because if we didn't get Caicedo, say, I think Rice is our number 1 target, by the way. He's somebody at Manchester City. His loan deal runs out of Bayern. He will be available. Whether he wants to come back to England's another matter. But he's somebody who could play that role that Zinchenko plays, and Zinchenko could possibly push forward more
a very good point,
in a forward midfield auxiliary role. But they could also rotate. Cancelo can play left back. Zinchenko can play auxiliary midfield. Zinchenko can play left back. Cancelo could go into midfield, and also Cancelo can attack on the left hand side, which allows Gabriel Martinelli to come more central. So in terms of fluidity, I said we need to probably get more fluid on our left hand side by signing Cancelo. I think he offers us that. And then finally, my final choice would be just for something different up front to Gabriel Jesus. I know Arteta's experimenting possibly Jesus playing right across the front line, possibly drifting out to the right, and Saka becoming more central as we saw against Wolves. But we haven't got that aerial threat or somebody who could sort of offer us something different in games where we need to play a certain different way.
A bit more of a focal point?
More of a focal point. Watkins has impressed me at Aston Villa, and he would obviously cost a lot of money and Villa won't sell, but somebody like that. So that's my 6 targets.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's build this potential dream squad then. So we've got 23-24 squad here. And what I've got is the list of players that you've mentioned, some other loan players. Let's start getting rid of the ones you don't want. Let's be ruthless, Graham. Okay, cool. Ramsdale. I've not even included the other goalkeepers.
Right, do you want me to just
Shaw, Turner, Hine, or whoever.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So just being ruthless. Then I know some of these players are on contracts, and I'll put the ones out on loan. Cedric for me, straight goes. Holding goes. Kieran Tierney, I love him as a fullback, but we know he's moving on at the end of the season, so Kieran Tierney would go. In midfield, I would get rid of El Neni. I know he signed a new contract, but not for me. And I would persevere with, I think, Lokonga. I might put him out on loan. But Smith, Rowe, Xhaka, and then I want those 2 midfielders to come in I've talked about.
Cool.
So I would want Rice, and I'd want Caicedo. And then I would want, and if we couldn't get Caicedo, I would want Cancelo to come in, and then Zinchenko, and then be able to play that role. So that's how I see that. Xhaka's leaving. Obviously, we know he's leaving, so he'll be gone. Smith Rowe and Vieira. I want Vieira more. You can put him over here wherever you want. But I think there's talk about Smith Rowe. Arteta looking to develop Smith Rowe in that number 8 next season. That could be the case.
Yeah.
I think Smith Rowe will get game time next year. And so Vieira and Smith Rowe to me stay in my squad. Nelson I see as cover for Saka on the right hand side. Marquinhos I would put him out on loan again. And then Eddie Nketiah is back up for Gabriel Jesus at the moment, and then we've got Martinelli and Trossard.
So now
and then
I'm offering
Watkins, if you could slip Watkins in as my last. Have you got him there?
Oh, there is, yes.
So Watkins would be, and Diaby. I would like Diaby as well. I mean, I want everything tonight, but I'm just saying, there's my perfect squad.
Would you take any one of Balogun, Pepe, Tavares?
I think Balogun. I think we need to raise funds. Balogun, it's a big call, but who are we going to raise funds from? Tierney, Jack, and I think that Balogun could be one that we sell. But not, he's had an exceptional season at France, and maybe, is he going to play next season with in this team? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Because, of course, if you don't get Watkins, you could keep Balogun, but I think if you're looking to raise some money, he could be someone we could offload. I know a lot of people will probably criticise me for that because he's a young talent and we developed him. Exceptional season in France. And the question is whether you see him playing many minutes next season.
So we've had a bit of fun here. This has been a lot of what we'd like to see, what would be maybe slightly unrealistic or whatever. Let's talk about the Rice Caicedo thing. I find it very interesting because if we... Oh, there we go. I'm having an absolute nightmare with this. Apologies. Here we go. Rice versus Caicedo. There we go. Fine. These are just 4 out of 50 stats you could have picked out. And that's just interesting. Caicedo has a better pass completion rate in the league this season per 90 than Declan Rice. Declan Rice, sorry, I was checking, I thought that might be wrong, but it's not. Declan Rice has 6.6 progressive carries per 90 over Caicedo. Caicedo not really seen as a dribbler or a carry in the way Declan Rice is. Shot creating actions per 90, Declan Rice 2.75 to Caicedo's 2.52. Tackles per 90, 2.17 for Declan Rice to Caicedo's 2.87. But I've got a screenshot here of some stats that you sent me that I thought were very interesting, that back your point a little bit more on why you would have Caicedo getting forward over Rice, which I'm going to read out here, so bear with me. So you said that you think Rice is a perhaps more measured defender.
Yeah.
He commits 1.25 fewer fouls per game with 1.29 interceptions, and he ranks in the top 3 in the Premier League for that, and has tackled 61% of dribblers in 1v1 situations and won 60% of his aerial duels. That is the case for having Rice as a deeper player.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good point. When you look at some of the Caicedo numbers you sent through, you think he's more of an 8 counter presser. His 3.09 tackles per 90 rank in the top 90%, top 10% of all midfielders in the Premier League. He's tackled 60% of the dribbles he's faced as well, and you think he could be brilliant for winning the ball back in transition up high. So it's a good argument for why you would have actually Caicedo getting forward, having the presence and more naturally kind of defensive mind of Declan Rice sort of developed to cover our back four.
Yeah, and I think that I see him as as physically strong, powerful. He's added goals to his game this season, although he has played at 6. Don't get me wrong, De Zerbi's been using him at 6. But I remember the previous season, I'm sure he scored at the Emirates when they beat us 2-1 with a right-sided strike from a pullback. I'm sure it was him that scored. Someone will correct me on that, but maybe.
Yeah.
But he has added goals to his game. I see him as someone who's very good tackler, someone who can break the play up. Football to me is all about transitions more than ever now, winning the ball back. If you can win it back higher up the pitch, the better. And we've got players with pace who we can get in behind. And I think he'd be ideal in that role. I know you see him differently. You see him more as a 6 and possibly could invert as a right back, you said. So
now we're going to get into what I think the 23-24 squad, I'm expecting it to look like. So slightly different to what we did with Graham, where it was more of a what would you like to see. Now it's a bit more of an expected thing. Again, apologies, let me just get Hine and Turner in there. Because I think Arsenal will make few signings, but they will be big ones, is my prediction. Now, Cedric, I think is gone. Rob Holding, I'm very sorry, I think he's gone. Kieran Tierney, unfortunately I do expect him to leave. I would give him 1 more year, but I think he'll go. El Neni I think stays, but I'm going to take him out because he's got this knee injury. I think he's doing his coaching badges, and I think the contract was more of a thank you for your service while you go through the surgery, we'll keep you at the club kind of thing. Lokonga, I think we're going to move. Granit Xhaka, we know is going. I've got a controversial one. Marquinhos, I think, will go on loan. I think Eddie Nketiah's gone as well.
Wow.
I think there's a chance that Asuta comes in for Eddie Nketiah. I really do.
You got inside information?
No. I wish. I just think Eddie will look back at this season and go, cool, I've got a good contract, I'm wearing the 14 shirt at Arsenal. But the minute it started to go a little bit flat, Trossard was immediately put into the false 9. And we didn't see him again, apart from a couple of sub-appearances. Eddie never led the line again, having actually done pretty well in Jesus' absence.
He got an injury, though, didn't he? So he lost his place through injury, and then Trossard was doing so well.
Yeah, he was still around for the last 6-7 weeks of the season or so, and we barely saw him. So I think there's a chance he goes. So that leaves a pretty bare squad there.
Yeah.
What I'm adding is a centre-back, and if it's Mark Gehi, it's Mark Gehi. I mean, I've also got here centre-back. You know, whoever, but cool. If it's Gehi, fine. I'm at a point where I just trust Arteta's judgment, and if Gehi's that is the player that has been reportedly, you know, targeted, fine. I then think we're going to get a number 6 that can play right back, and my player for that is Caicedo. So I'm just going to put him here, and in a little bit I'll show you why and how I think it will develop. I think the Rice rumours are so strong. I do believe we're going to bring him in. So let's add Declan Rice, but I think he's going to play as more of an 8. Could play as a 6, but I think he'll be more of an 8. And then I think we will get one more almost right winger depth for Saka. Again, whether that's Diaby or whoever, I've just gone right winger. Now, the way I think this therefore reshapes is, I think Trossard and Jesus will basically for another year. I know, I agree that I think Arsenal need a target man forward. I don't think we're going to do that in this window. I think they will rotate with that front line. I think Nelson has really impressed on the left-hand side when he's come on running at defenders. I think him and Martinelli are a little bit more like for like. I think we'll get a Saka like for like. So what you'll have is almost a front 6 of options that are all pretty similar to each other. I don't think he's actually really going to go for a plan B. I think his plan B will just be just other players. Martinelli's not playing well, Nelson comes on. Saka's got an injury or needs a rest, Diaby or said right winger arrives. Trossard, Jesus alternate. That's what I think he'll do there. So then you've got this kind of cluster of 6s here. I think he'll keep Jorginho another year because I actually think Jorginho's done well. Rice, I think, will be more doing what Xhaka did in this role, but I think he'll develop Smith Rowe there. And then you've got Odegaard and Vieira. I think Vieira needs this year to try and develop a little bit more, and we need to see a lot from Vieira. And then the back 4 is interesting, because what you've got is how many players... Oh, it'd be nice for you, there we go. It'd be nice, how many players have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 for 4 positions, really want 8. That's a little, I don't know, little light. Raul Walters maybe, Norton Cuffy could maybe take a place in the squad. But interestingly, this is why I think actually Caicedo and Tomiyasu might be the 2 right backs you see. And then you're going to have White, Saliba, Gehi, Gabriel, Kivior can cover at left back, and Zinchenko. Now, how do I think this therefore looks on the pitch? Thank you for bearing with me, everyone, while I'm sort of talking you through all this. If I just keep the starters in, let's bring out Smith Rowe, let's bring out Jorginho. I don't think Arteta's given up on Thomas Partey, even though his lack of form at the end of the season was slightly concerning. I think Partey will be a starting number 6. Tomiyasu, I want to just leave White for a second. Gehi, Gabriel, Kivior, Zinchenko. And we get rid of obviously all the other goalkeepers. Now, it's really important that there will be, unlike this season where I think we all knew what the first 11 was going to be, I don't think there's going to be one set first 11. I think week after week they're going to rotate more next season. The Champions League's coming up. I think we're going to see some games White start centre-back, some games Saliba, sometimes White a right-back, whatever it might be. I think they're going to alternate all the time. Kivior will come in, Partey, Jorginho will swap a lot, Rice might play a 6, might play a 8, whatever. I think they'll mix up loads next season. But what I do think we'll see is a shape more so where White, who was starting at right back, meant that we built with almost a back 3. What I think we're going to see next season, and it's based on very little, is Ben White probably not starting as many games as he did this season, and actually Arsenal still getting into that front 5 shape. Why? Because he's done it ever since he arrived, Mikel Arteta. I don't think he's going to move away from it. They will keep getting forward. Let's move Martinelli to the left. Partey stays as the 6. Caicedo inverts alongside him, Zinchenko inverts alongside him, and you're going to have more of what Man City did in 2017-18 when they won the title with Walker and Delph inverting, and it will become a 2-3-5 rather than the box midfield we've seen this season.
I reckon you'd be around Mikel's for dinner. But because I listen to that and I think, wow, that is a pretty good way to go. I must be, I'm very impressed. I think that, as I said before, I do think we need a bit of solidity at the back, because I think defensively we're conceding more goals. I think what you're offering there, I think certainly gives us a greater presence when we build up. I do think also that we need to freshen up front. I do think we become very predictable with Gabriel Jesus dropping in, and teams are able to squeeze us higher. So I think what you'll see also, James, in this shape, you'll see Jesus out here, and if you could just move Saka in for me, he'll come more central, and I think his direct running, straight line running at the defence, because then I think teams will not be able to squeeze us. They'll sit deeper, and we can get. And Saka scored a brilliant goals this season. I think one or two. I think Crystal Palace he scored one from a central area. So I think that could be the way we go. And also Jesus could even come out on the left hand side, and Gabriel Martinelli could come inside. I've long said on this Tactical Insight show all through the season that I see Martinelli and Saka, a bit like the way De Zerbi sees his wide players, as going from out to in, as being our two potential main goal scorers. Gabriel Jesus is not, I think, a massive goal scorer, but he does offer that option of being able to play out wide. But overall, this is what you've described there. I mean, if we end up with that, I'll be really happy.
I'll be over the moon if we end up with something like that squad that I've predicted. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of work, and Arsenal have a lot of time now. There's no World Cup distractions or anything like that. There's a lot of time for Arsenal to try and address it. And we'll see what happens. But Caicedo, we know that Chelsea are hunting him as well. We know that Rice is going to cost a lot of money. There's even been links with Odegaard and other clubs, but I don't think there's anything to worry about there. So I think it's going to be a very fascinating summer for Arsenal.
That would be a very good starting 11, wouldn't it?
It'd be an unbelievable starting 11, yeah. If we get Rice and Caicedo, that would be big. And the important thing is the depth that we're talking about. The ability for Trossard to come in, Nelson to come in, White to come in, Jorginho to come in, Kivior to come in.
That's what let us down last season. We have to also say we've got Champions League football next season, so we will need the depth. But I think the players will be getting proper rest next season. They'll be playing Tuesday or Wednesdays and Saturdays, not Thursday and Sundays. So the depth cost us last season, and I think we're addressing the depth if we go with this sort of additions to the squad, James.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, everyone, let us know in the comment section below. What do you think Arsenal's summer look like? What do you think Arteta's Arsenal looks like next season? What I would say is all of this, it's just guesswork. I'm looking at targets, I'm looking at things we've tried in the last game against Wolves, I'm looking at, I don't know, just trends, things like that. I think Arsenal and Arteta will try and evolve again a little bit next year. And the fact that Ben White was overlapping so much, I think tells you that he is happy to trust Saliba and Gabriel at the back. So does that impact the way you look at certain signings, the way you look at... Do you sign a Caicedo and a Rice potentially for near enough 200 million for both and then not play both of them? Or is that just the depth you need to compete with a club like Man City? Let us know in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Go check out all the other content on AFTV and keep up with all our transfer updates, because they are coming in thick and fast. It's not slowing down after the end of the season. Arsenal still in the news. Hopefully they get some of these signings in through the door early on, and we can get ready for next season. Many thanks. We'll see you very soon.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.